Hi, I'm Jennifer Goodman with GoodLife Luxury and the Modern Home Tour, and I am here today with Peter Pfeiffer, principal at Barley Pfeiffer Architecture. Peter, welcome again to the Modern Home Tour. It's the 9th annual.
Is it that many years? Well, thank you for welcoming me.
It is. How many times have you been with us now?
I think we've had a home every year. Maybe one year we didn't. I think one year we did not because I was trying to put mine out as being a modern tour. So 8 of the 9 years.
All right. Well, 8 years out of the 9. Can't do better than that. So, Peter, this year's entry into the Modern Home Tour is 2111 DeVerne. So
Right.
tell us a little bit about the intellect behind the work.
It's in the Barton Hills neighborhood. We thought it was a neighborhood that's going through a transition. It's very close to downtown. It's got a lot of amenities. So we thought that location would attract a discerning buyer. So we worked hard on a particularly discerning design. We wanted something that would appeal to those who want a modern-looking home, but frankly be more responsive than most modern homes are to the climate and be more sympathetic to the neighborhood. It is a neighborhood of 1930s and 40s and maybe 1950s bungalows. We didn't want to do a home that just shouted out, said, "Look at me." It is a strong design, but it's sympathetic to the neighborhood.
And that's great because I know you always consider that. You don't consider just the house as a single unit, but you consider everything that house encompasses and siting it. And we'll talk a little bit maybe, if you will, about some of the green aspects of what you've done with the house. I'd love to explore that with you. But why don't we start with telling us a little bit about the thought process that went on sort of behind the house and the color palette.
The builder we worked with, Kelly Wunsch, is a wonderful builder. He is a younger guy who's well, I wouldn't say younger, it's younger by comparison to me, but we did his own personal home. This man has a good sensitivity for design and construction quality. So we were trying to do a home that showed off a little bit more sophistication than most speculative homes that are built. This was built as a speculative venture.
Okay.
But we wanted to make the point that you can build a speculative home and still build it very well and design it very well. You didn't just have to pull a plan out of a plan book the way some appear to be. We wanted it to respond well to the prevailing breezes and also to particularly good indoor air quality and health issues.
And that's something that you're always considerate of because often that makes a big difference in selling a home, doesn't it?
If you articulate it right. I'm not so sure people even think to ask or even say, gee, why is the garage separated from the house in the way it is? Well, it is so that you don't pollute the indoor air of the home with what's in the garage. I'm not sure most people would catch that, but if you have some bullet points that articulate why the design is done this way, then people are interested. Maybe like when we were children, when seat belts were optional in a car.
I remember that.
Really thought, well, why would you want a seatbelt? But then when you see all those crash dummies and how they don't go flying through the windshield, you say, oh yeah, there is a value to those things. We found you have to do the same thing in architecture, especially with speculative homes.
Do you want to expand on that? I mean, really what you're talking about is urban functionality.
Yeah, and let's talk about urban functionality because as I thought about that question, what comes to my mind is the fact that Austin is no longer a very inexpensive city to live in, and it's not an inexpensive city to buy a home in. So if you're going to be appealing to the urban buyer who wants to be close in with the amenities, they're a more sophisticated buyer than they were, in my view, just 10 years ago, much more sophisticated. They do want the urban lifestyle, the proximity, but that doesn't mean they don't want a home that feels spacious and lives well, is healthier to live in, and is particularly energy efficient and low maintenance. Let's think about that urban buyer. They're not going to be the type of person that wants to contract out getting the painting done on the home every 7 years.
Right.
Or putting a new roof on every 10 or 15 years. They want a home that's going to be a little bit more wash and wear.
Right, and the DeVerne house hits on all those things.
We tried to make it hit on that. It's got a lifetime roof, for example. If you buy that house and you move in, you will probably never have to worry about that roof for the rest of your life.
What else do you love about that house?
Alan Barley is my partner, who is the design inspiration at the firm. We've had a great marriage, so to speak, of almost 30 years. Al comes up with some pretty strong designs once in a while, and we debated whether or not this particularly strong design would work. We worked it and worked it and worked it so it had strength but still was sympathetic to the neighborhood. It had strength but was still a little bit more universally appealing. Mm-hmm. And it was fun because you try to get yourself into the head of the potential buyer.
Right.
And it's difficult. It would be great if the buyer were sitting right next to you and say, look, do you like this design? But you don't have that option to do it, so you got to sort of anticipate. Mm-hmm. But let me give you a success story about it. There is another home in the neighborhood that has been on the market for, I think, a year, and they've had to lower the price significantly, and it still hasn't sold. This house sold, I believe, within the first 2 weeks of it being on the market for a fair price.
Right.
And what that points out to me is the discerning buyer still does value good design.
So real quick, what are the top 3 things you think make a well-designed modern home for today's Austinite?
Well, it's got to look good, but it's got to function well for family fun. And I call it family fun architecture. A logical place for the kids to drop their backpacks when they come in from school. A good separation between the master suite and the kids. But yet, in this case, putting them all upstairs. And I'll go into that later if you want. A good flow to the house, a good place for there to be a workstation near or in the kitchen so that you can check your email while boiling the pot of water for noodles.
Yep.
An open plan, but still a plan that gives private spaces. For example, in the upstairs of this house, there's a reading area, and the downstairs is pretty open. So it's got to look good. It's got to have family functionality, not just looks. I mean, for example, there's a real walk-in pantry.
Right.
Not just a cabinet. There's a real place to put your mops and your brooms and those perfunctory things, not just some cabinet. So it's got to function. And then third, in my view, is high performance, what we call high performance. It used to be known as green building, but what it means is the house is going to be particularly energy efficient, particularly low maintenance, and particularly more healthy to live in. And the fourth term is more resilient. And by that I mean, if you run out of power, if we've got a power outage in the middle of the summer, this house can still be comfortable. It cross-ventilates very well. It's got a ventilated radiant barrier roof system. The windows are shaded. It's got resilience. You can still live in this house during a lousy power outage or something like that.
Yep. And with our energy costs going up and up and up, last I saw they're not going down.
No.
It sounds like a great house.
I think so. I mean, this house should be about the same cost to live in this house. I forget the square footage. I believe it's in the 2,500 square foot range, maybe just under, maybe just over. This house should cost about as much to operate as somebody's 1 or 2 bedroom apartment. Amazing.
I know that at Barley Pfeiffer Architecture, what you really consider as important are well thought out, high performance homes for discerning buyers. So we're really excited about what you're doing, and we want to say thank you for your time today.
Well, we're looking forward to showing those who come on the tour what this is all about. It's different, and we want to show it.
Absolutely, and it always is different, and we really appreciate that you always bring a breath of fresh air, so thank you. I'm Jennifer Goodman with GoodLife Luxury and Modern Home Tour Austin. We look forward to seeing you at 2111 DeVerne, which is in Barton Hills. We'll see you at this year's tour.